Well, hello to anybody watching this video. This is a video diary of a very long road trip that I did back in spring of 2021. It's 2023, so why am I doing this? Well, I was recently going through some old pictures, and I realized that old pictures and videos, those are precious memories that are great to look back on, and they are tragically very easily lost. Um, so, pictures that are on your phone, they get deleted over time to save space on your phone, to save memory. If you change phones, sometimes you can lose pictures in the transfer. Um, Pictures are rarely developed. So I just decided I need to do a better job curating, my fond memories so that I have something to look back on, in the future. So I'm basically what I'm gonna try to start doing is using YouTube as a good, dispensary of sorted photo and video albums, just so that again I have something to look back on. The reason I'm starting here is because I actually have a decent amount of picture and video from this road trip I've done. I've done a lot of road trips over the years. Road trips are one of my favorite things. Um, I feel like road trips are one of the very few things in today's digital age where you just spend time with people and have time to just talk, converse, over nonsense. So I love road trips. They're a great way to bond with friends and family. And I've done a ton of road trips over the years. Uh, Drove many times from Indiana to Arkansas, to Colorado, to Florida, to Connecticut, to New Jersey. I've gone to Arizona and back. We've even driven out to Washington when we moved out there the first time, and I have almost no, photos or tangible memories from any of those things. This one, however, I do have, like I said, a decent amount of photo and video stuff, so I decided to start here. Um, to give you a little bit of background on what's going on here, so me and my wife, Emily, moved to Washington in 2016. Um, I actually, we took this route there, so the conventional route. And to give you an example of what I'm talking about, the only picture that I have of that entire road trip is this right here. Emily, my wife, is taking the picture, and that's me and Robbie, my two friends named Robbie. Uh, Both of them have the girl spelling, according to Coach Jason Brown of Last Chance U. But that's the only picture that I have of that road trip. We went to Yellowstone. I don't really have much, I don't have anything of that. We went through a beautiful country. We drove across the entire country through, the mountains, and no pictures other than that. That's the only thing I have. But that's us at Badlands National Park. Just wanted to cut in here because coincidentally, this is me, Robbie, and our other friend Derek, about, like 12, 13 years prior to that. So back in 2004 at Badlands National Park. So the previous picture that you just saw was us there in 2016, and this was us there in 2004. So yeah, just funny. We've been friends for a very long time, as you can see, from boyhood till now. Um, the reason that those two came along is because me and Emily were transporting two vehicles, and it's very difficult to drive two vehicles with two people for couple thousand miles. So I enlisted some good friends to help us out. On the trip back, however, the other Robbie could not make it, so it was just me and this Robbie. We've been friends since very, very young age. This is us, graduating high school together, and, we're still friends to this day. We've been friends for more than 20 years. One more piece of background information on this road trip is the fact that it was made in this little vehicle right here. So that is a 2009 Toyota Yaris. It has over 200,000 miles on it. It's driven to every corner of the United States. Northwest, southwest, northeast, southeast. It's been a very reliable vehicle. However, it is very small. A lot of things on it don't work anymore. For example, the radio or the speaker, stopped working temporarily, so we couldn't listen to music or podcasts or anything like that. The muffler is basically gone, so it's very loud. It's basically the worst vehicle that you can make a very long, 48-hour road trip in. But you could also look at it as it's the best vehicle to do a long road trip in. Depending on your perspective, that's the type of vehicle that is fun to look back on. But anyway, so that's a little bit of background. But we moved out in 2016, and then we moved back to Fort Wayne in 2021, and this is that road trip. So I'm going to show some video and some picture and talk about some of the pictures of the road trip all the way back to Fort Wayne. Our route, you can see, is an unconventional route. We wanted to take the scenic route back. We weren't on a schedule or anything like that. You can see 3,000 miles that we're driving. We didn't have a real timetable to get back, so we just took our time. Wanted to see some Southwest stuff, and the main thing, I wanted to go to Fayetteville. I've never been to Fayetteville before. I'm a huge Arkansas Razorback fan, and I had never been to Fayetteville, and I had never been to an Arkansas game, so we were going to catch a baseball game in Fayetteville. So I guess first picture that I can show you, we can start now. So this is the first picture I want to talk about. And the reason I'm starting here is because before we, drove across the country, we actually had to pack up, and, we were moving our entire life with us. That's not a very easy thing to do. We had an entire house full of possessions that we had to, give away, sell, or, if we were keeping it, we had to pack it up and, put it in a vehicle. It was a very, very long process. I'm blessed to have a great wife that did most of that stuff. Well, I didn't have to worry about it as much. However, it was still very, very stressful process, especially, the last couple days. Robbie was there with us helping. Thank God for that. And one of the things that I do remember most fondly is that the night before we were moving, we had basically everything done. We were in a pretty decent spot, or so we thought. And then when we were, packing some stuff up, we saw that there was we had a PlayStation 2 in this game, and it was, a fun game that we liked to play growing up. And so me and Robbie played a few games of this while Emily was throwing the rest of our clothes into this gigantic bag that we were strapping on top of our Nissan Rogue. So these are the type of memories that, you look back on. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that night we were sitting there playing MVP baseball in a basically empty house that wasn't quite empty because it was still full of stuff that we had to fit in our cars the next day. And my worker bee wife, Emily, was just, still packing stuff up while me and Robbie were playing games. So I remember this. That's a fun picture. So this video is before we left. Again, some background. We spent an entire day. We woke up that day and started getting what we thought was the last steps, which was, loading up the rest of the stuff in the vehicle and throwing the rest of the stuff in the garbage. What we realized was we had very, very, very severely underestimated the amount of work that was left to do. We couldn't leave any trash. I mean, we sold the home and there's stipulations on, what we were leaving. And so we had to make a lot of trips to the dump. And then eventually, after we had given up trying to fit everything into a vehicle, we just decided to take a lot of our stuff out of our vehicles and put it in a little U-Haul like ship box and just ship it. And it ended up being, a couple $1,000 or something like that. But at the end of the day, it was worth it because it just ended the nightmare of a day that we were in, because we were in a total nightmare of a day. I don't think me, Emily, or Robbie will ever forget how horrible of a day that was. Just in terms of how stressful and just how much work we were doing. But then the time came after, we finally were excited that all the work had been done for the day and we were finally able to leave. Then it started to get a little emotional because, me and Emily, that was our first house after we got married. And, we had a really great life out there. We loved living in Washington. We loved the house. We loved a lot of things, but it was, so it was really hard to leave. And, Emily was getting emotional about it. I was emotional about it, but I, trying to not think about it too much. But this is that video. Are we live? All right, so we are about to drive across the country. We're moving from Lynnwood, Washington to Fort Wayne, Indiana. Our house is now empty. We've said goodbye to it. Emily had a little cry, but the journey is about to start here. Just a little word of advice to anybody who will ever move across the country. However much stuff you think you have about 5 times more, okay? Because we have had a heck of a day here. It was a day from the devil. He sent us a absolute poo sandwich to start.
It didn't fit the way we thought it would.
Okay.
So that's all it is. But now everything is done. The things that are staying are in good shape.
Robbie is behind the camera. He's helping us make the drive. The other Robbie couldn't make it this time. Robbie helped us drive out here, and now it's only Robbie driving us back. But we're having a good time. Let's get going. Here we are in Snoqualmie eating dinner. After our late start, obviously. Scott's Dairy Freeze. They have pineapple cider, but we didn't get any. So we got some shakes though. Cherry shake, chocolate shake, hot fudge sundae.
I wonder if they have a filter for Snoqualmie.
They have a what?
I wonder if they have a filter for Snoqualmie.
I don't even know what you're talking about. He's talking about social media things that I have no
Talking
idea.
about Snapchat location filters.
Okay.
Everybody in the world knows what that is.
Everybody in the world except
the guy that doesn't have Snapchat.
Alright, we stopped in Kennewick, Tri-Cities for the night.
Long day. Woke up, got to the gas station here at Long Ball Porters, and we're off. Hopefully we'll make it to Salt Lake or Moab or whatever. We'll see. We're at some scenic viewpoint in eastern Oregon. It's a good view. Mighty fine view right here. Driving through eastern Oregon into Idaho. Rob's driving down. We have left Emily and Sarah behind. We may see them again, we may not. We'll see how it goes.
Interesting little tidbit here. At the time of this move, I was actually a teacher at a small private school in Seattle. And even though I am a math teacher, they had me teaching U.S. history and Washington State history. Naturally, the Oregon Trail came up in both of those classes, and we ended up playing a board game version of the Oregon Trail. And this is a picture of us, just by pure coincidence, playing the Oregon Trail board game in class about, a week or so before before me and Robbie went and saw the actual Oregon Trail. So that's pretty cool.
Yep. So here we are at the National Historic Oregon Trail Interpretive Center. We just passed a couple of spots on the Oregon Trail, and I'm super excited to go into this Oregon Trail Museum. Oh, but it's closed. Yeah, so whatever. But I'll be back here one day. I just made a promise to myself that I'll make it back here. Cool mountains. Anything to say, Rob?
God bless the people that died on the trail.
Yes. Robbie instructed me to drink some water so that we didn't die of dehydration. Learn from the ancestors that made it out on the Oregon Trail.
So I'm really into history and checking out, things like this. Anytime I'm driving anywhere, I always love to stop and see, even if it's an obscure thing, if it's something very silly or whatever, I just like to, stop. But this to me is pretty significant, seeing the actual Oregon Trail. An awesome part of American history, and for millennials, a game that we've all played in elementary school. Here's me looking like an idiot, riding shotgun on a wagon. And then here are ruts, some of the only ruts that are still, in existence. That's actually the Oregon Trail. People who traveled on the Oregon Trail were actually going down that road right there. Obviously, most of it has, been overgrown and developed and all that kind of stuff, but this is part of it that still exists, which is pretty cool. I like that a lot. So one thing I distinctly remember about stopping in Boise was the fact that it was such a hipster town. It may as well have been Seattle or Portland or San Francisco, a tiny version of that tucked away in exactly, how you imagine Idaho. So I just will never forget that. I was expecting Boise. Obviously, it's a city. Any city is going to be more developed and everything, but this was just hipster town, USA, times 100.
We met back up with Emily and Sarah, obviously. Hey, Sarah. And we were at Hipster's Paradise here in Boise, Idaho. Obviously, the live band playing the harmonica and whatnot. Cello, big cello and a band. Not a big cello and a harmonica. Yeah, whatever. We're here somewhere in Idaho. I have no idea where, but there's this big gorge. It looks like a little mini Grand Canyon. Robbie's scared to be on this bridge. It's really far down. We're in Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City getting another later than intended start, but you know, whatever, it happens. Got myself some sunglasses. If you can see it. Got myself some sunglasses because it's really, really sunny. I do not have it. It's alright.
Ladies and gentlemen, another example of things that I like to stop at are anything having to do with my favorite movies. If I really like a movie, and I know that there's spots that that they were filmed, especially the main part of the movie, like this for example is the Sandlot. That right there is the Sandlot from the Sandlot. So that's pretty cool. We stopped there. It's in Salt Lake City. There was absolutely nothing, no markers, no, there was just nothing. Sometimes, like I've been to, a lot of places like that where, there might be a sign out in the front yard saying like, it's okay if you take pictures, just stay out of our yard, or, there's just something there that's confirms that this is the spot. But we looked it up online. We drove out there. If you just look at it, yeah, that's it. You can recognize it, but there was nothing there saying that it was it. We didn't get out. I mean, we didn't want to trespass the anybody's property, but it was pretty cool. Just the fact that we went there and saw it. Obviously, both of our, in the list of both of our favorite baseball movies. So that was pretty cool.
There's gonna be a hill right here. After this hill, there's gonna be the money shot.
All right. We are here in southern Utah. Really starting to get into the desert. Those mountains are way bigger than they look on the picture, that's for sure.
That's the money shot right there.
Yep, just desert.
I'm really bad at turning my camera, but this is it right side up. It's always the case. Anytime that you look at any pictures or videos of mountains, is they never look as big or majestic, on the camera. But at that time, we were driving through just a really interesting landscape. Desert with big snow-capped mountains in the background. That's just the cool thing about being out west is, there's just every type of geographical landscape kind of all mixed into one. So pretty cool.
All right, here we are. We're pretty close to Moab. Straight desert. I mean, just desert. It's hot. We stopped for some ice cream. We're about to go see the arches. Had to get me some sunglasses because it was too sunny. So sunglasses. It says that they look like dark.
No, I said they look like a guy with a big basket.
Yeah, okay. Same thing.
Well done.
Anyway, it's hot. Arches National Park. Very cool. Very cool. Courthouse Towers viewpoint. This is a very, very pretty drive through Arches National Park.
So here's some of the pictures from Arches National Park. That's one of my favorite ones right there, just because I loved those sunglasses. I still have those sunglasses, and I still think of them as like those are my desert sunglasses. I actually used those when I was in Arizona for about 3 months at Fort Huachuca, and I loved wearing those sunglasses. Everybody made fun of them, but they were my desert sunglasses, and you can see they're just taking a picture, and the shadow is yellow. It was so bright and sunny there, and I had at that time I had lived in Western Washington for the last 5 years, which is rainy and dark, and going there into the nice bright sunshine was nice. There's Robbie in one of the more famous arches, probably the second most famous arch. We didn't go to the first most famous arch because it was a really long way out of the way, but and it's supposedly underwhelming, according to a lot of the people that we talked to. But yeah, so we went to these ones. These ones are better. Yep. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just this gives it a little bit better perspective of how gigantic it is. In those pictures, it might seem, a little bit smaller, but, there you can see the tiny, tiny, tiny little people in this gigantic place. Is really cool. Really cool. Always makes you wonder, this guy right here is in my picture, I wonder if I'm in people's pictures. They're wondering, like, hey, who's that guy? But yeah, Arches National Park. Very cool national park. Some national parks are, a little overrated, and, there are certain national parks where the cool thing is just going to see something specific, right? And that's exactly what this is. Like, we weren't there to camp, we weren't there to fish or anything like that. We were there to see something very specific, which are these arches that don't really exist in other places. You have to kind of come here to see them. So that's, I think, one of the cooler parts about it. It's just like, this is the only place maybe in the world that you can see these types of things. And so we went there and saw them. Almost forgot about this picture. This guy right here was my favorite for obvious reasons. Pretty funny looking statue there.
Alright, we are inside Double Arch. There's two arches. This big guy right here. There's a big guy right there. These things are absolutely enormous.
Fucking rock came humming down here and hit that rock.
No way.
A little baby one, yeah.
So we could make it. This is absolutely great. Loving it. And you can see the snow getting melted back there too. It's icy on the beach.
So we left Arches National Park and kept driving all the way to Albuquerque that night. I remember getting in really late, being very dark, not any type of lights anywhere, just being in very desolate country, which was really cool. I liked it. But I do remember this road, and a lot of the roads that we were on, just like it. It reminded me of that road from Forrest Gump when he's running in Arizona, and he finally stops and says he's going home. Says he's pretty tired and he wants to go home now. We actually ended up looking, and that is a road that does exist, and it was only a couple hours away from us in Arizona. Obviously, we weren't prepared to, divert our plans just to go see that specific road when there were a lot of roads that were very, very similar that looked a lot like that. And, you can kind of see just very, very long roads. And this picture doesn't even really do it justice. Just, how long of a road that is, where it's just going straight for so long into the desert. So I really liked that picture. That this is a hotel we stayed at in Albuquerque. You can see, a lot of Southwest Native American culture there. I wanted to take a little picture next to that because I thought that was pretty cool. And then we saw, obviously we were in Albuquerque. Both of us were Breaking Bad fans, so we stopped by this house that is the Breaking Bad house. And like I was saying earlier about, movie locations, I, do that, when I can. I've done it a lot in my life. This is more like it, where you can see there's just this specific house is all gated up and it has signs in it and everything. It's just like, please get out of the yard. I mean, you can see signs, big fence with more signs. I mean, that was clearly the house, and it was clearly a place that people went to all the time. And those people didn't want to be bothered anymore by it, but guess what? You bought the wrong house. Yeah, just a little fun stop. If I do recall correctly, it was something just kind of last minute. We were driving, we were getting back on the interstate. Maybe we were trying to go get breakfast or something like that, and it just pulled up real quick, like, where's the Breaking Bad house? And it just so happened we were like 2 minutes away from it. It was like, hang a right here. It was boom, hung a right. And there we were. It was just a funny little coincidence I remember.
All right, Breaking Bad house is up here. We're in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they definitely do not want people looking at their house, as you can see with the fencing and the cameras and the trash can lit up and big signs that say screw off, all that, please go away. It's still cool. New roof, because apparently people used to throw pizza box or just throw pizzas up on the roof, so they had to get a different roof. Anyway, Albuquerque. Login. So basically all day I haven't even taken any pictures or anything because this is it. It's just, cattle country and white pickup trucks in Texas. Tejas. Our radio is actually working again, luckily. Thank goodness for that.
I remember this day just being the exact same all the way from Albuquerque to Fayetteville. Basically just the same thing. Through New Mexico, through the Texas Panhandle, through Oklahoma, everything was the exact same. It just looked just like that. That was a day where, the sun is beating down on your neck through your car and, the air conditioning doesn't work. You're just getting bored. You've been in the car for the last 3 days straight. And then, the speaker didn't work, or maybe the speaker worked, but then the speaker was raspy, or it was making a really high pitched noise, or it was just an annoying day. I recall that. We did stop. It was one of the things I wanted to do, was stop at like the quintessential steakhouse in Texas. We passed through Amarillo at, unfortunately, the wrong time. There was, apparently a really famous steakhouse there. If you eat the big steak, you get it for free, that type of thing. we didn't stop there, but then we ended up stopping some other place in more rural Texas, and very, very disappointing. Very disappointing steak. I was expecting, the best steak of my life, and I got honestly one of the poorer steaks of my life. But I guess that's what I remember from that day, is just a long, 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 long day of just straight, through nothing, driving 100 mile an hour basically the entire way in that tiny, tiny little Toyota Yaris, going up to 5,000 RPMs basically the entire time. And yeah, I remember that.
All right, we got into Fayetteville, Arkansas about 1 o'clock last night. Slept in, and now we are at Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, which is very, very good. But I love the Arkansas memorabilia. There's Fayetteville High School. Arkansas memorabilia all over the walls. Different Arkansas logos. It's cool. But more importantly, this chicken, Raising Cane's chicken. Robbie said that he had heard people say that it's really good, and it is really good. I ate all of it. Very good. We're going to go explore Fayetteville, see the football stadium, check out the team store, and then tonight, Razorback baseball game. It's gonna be fun.
So the reason we went to Fayetteville is because I'm a huge Arkansas Razorback fan. I had been to Arkansas many, many, many times in my life to visit family, but they live in the southeast side of Arkansas. Arkansas is in the northwest side of the state, so I never made it out there. But this was my first time, and I absolutely loved it. There you can see dedication to the 1964 National Championship football team. That's a really awesome fountain, honestly. Those hogs are huge, and it's just an awesome fountain. There's me about to go into Baum Walker. There's me right behind home plate. We got the tickets right behind home plate. It's pretty cool. There is us on TV. Yes, that's right. We were on SEC Network. Me and Robbie. Yep. I bought that hog hat. I bought that jersey. Robbie bought this hat. Whoa. Wait, I just noticed. There's the legend himself, Charlie Welch, taking some warm-up cuts. I did not. I'm realizing this right now, live. The fact that this was Chucky Taters warming up. We saw him go yard that day. The vast majority of even the most diehard Arkansas baseball fans didn't even know who he was that day. Wow, that's cool. But anyway, we're on TV. But there's Chucky Taters. He was about to hit a home run. He hit a home run that at bat. The legend. Oh, the catfish hole. So we talked about Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's has been, a thing. Obviously, it was something that Robbie, had heard about, and he wanted to go to. And we went there, and it was really good. My dad told me to go to the Catfish Hole, and the Catfish Hole is now my favorite restaurant of all time. So this is Catfish Hole, stained glass window, catfish. I love Catfish Hole. Every time I go to Fayetteville, which has been a few times now, I go to the Catfish Hole at least once because it's just so good. There's John McDonnell, best coach of all time. Yep. But going to Fayetteville was awesome. Loved it. This was basically the last stop. When we woke up the next day after going to Fayetteville, we just drove straight to Fort Wayne. There's absolutely nothing from Fayetteville to Fort Wayne that's worth noting. It was just a drive I've done many, many times, boring through Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, just cornfields. Nothing that I find exciting at all. It was just that last day of travel, and that was it. But I really enjoyed the road trip, and I enjoyed taking the trip down memory lane, and I'm glad that I cut this video together. Robbie, if you're watching this, thank you for partaking in all this stuff with me. Love you, buddy. And yeah, I enjoyed this. So hopefully I can start doing this a little bit more often with some of the things that I do, because, you know, I like looking back like this, and I want to be able to remember some things and not lose all of my pictures, you know, 5 years down the line, and then just, you know, then they only exist in my memory, and my memory can get fuzzy after, you know, a decade or so. But anyway, I enjoyed making this video. Whoever is watching, I don't know why you're watching, but I hope you enjoyed it. But anyway,